Hello and welcome to Basement Fodder, the only show whose hosts have had a sleepover at the Fortress of Solitude. I'm Todd.
And I'm Dave.
And that would be a weird place to have a sleepover. They don't seem to have very much furniture there.
It'd be cold as
It'd be cold as
too.
Oh, I probably like that. You know me, I like to be cold all the time.
Not that
level. Not the Antarctic level of cold.
So, like, you can't relax because your ball sack's frozen and cold.
As long as it's not the Fortress from Smallville, because if it's that version, then I can really hear Jor-El talking all fucking night. Yo, get your sleeping bag off the floor. Yeah. Shut up, leave me alone.
Damn it,
don't be a dick. Damn it, Terrence Stampy, leave me alone.
Yeah. Just relax.
Oh, this is the week that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. came back. Isn't it? Or no, last week was the week that Agents of... But this is the week we watched it. Because we didn't watch it last week because we were too busy. This week has gone by so quickly for me. Like, I don't know why, but when I looked up today and it said Thursday on my phone, I was like, what the fuck? It just didn't feel like it should be Thursday. I think I'm
excited about it because I got LARP this weekend.
That's right, you do. And you've got new gear and new tenty thing that you found last night at our Walmart adventuring.
And tomorrow is season 2 of Daredevil comes out, which I'm going to watch the shit out of this weekend when I get back.
Cool. I still haven't watched season 1.
I figured. Season 6 will come out and you'll finally start watching it. Yeah, probably.
I mean, that happens sometimes. You've seen it. Like, I didn't really watch Arrow until three seasons deep. Like, yeah. It takes time. You know what, though? I think was the Supergirl might have been the show of the week this week, though. Because I loved what they did on Supergirl with the red kryptonite.
I'd say, yeah, because the absence. Well,
Legends was good.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was as good as Supergirl this time.
I would say Supergirl was different, like, good for as far as, like, the story, but action, no. I say Legends was better, action-wise.
But I'm just going overall.
Overall, for me, they're tied.
I don't know. Legends is, like, it was good, but, like, it was kind of, like, forgettable.
I mean, yeah, it's just like for me, Supergirl was good, but there wasn't like it was more like character, and I was like, that's cool, but I want to watch some like ass kicking too. So,
but I think it was good for the development of the Supergirl as a character, like this version of Supergirl, and like how they're doing things. Like this was the first introduction in this world of red kryptonite, which is interesting to me because like I wonder if that means that they in their Superman in this world has never dealt with red kryptonite before. Like they didn't really mention it because like. You'd figure Jimmy would have mentioned it or something. If
I'm guessing they probably haven't.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's something that came along pretty early, usually in his storylines with the red kryptonite.
Yeah.
Even post-Crisis, the red kryptonite's still been pretty prevalent.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, they used it on Smallville for almost an entire season. There was basically the Red K season, where he was all like dark and brooding and shit, and like fucking Jonathan had to fight him and all that. That was cool.
Yeah.
One of my favorite seasons still. But I think that Melissa Benoist did one hell of a job this week at being like a different version of the character.
Being like the darker aspect, the like giving into those inhibitions and stuff. Being very Kryptonian, not like the like the very militant Kryptonian.
It's interesting because red kryptonite, like depending on who's writing it, it affects different ways.
Yeah,
like sometimes it just makes him apathetic. Yeah. Like that's what the kind of the traditional red kryptonite. And then some of them, it's more like it brings out the dark shit in you.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what they used this time. Yeah. Like, it was more like what they did on Smallville, where they brought out the dark side, and the more, like, uninhibited side.
I think that works.
Arrogancy and shit.
I think that works better than just the apathy thing, because the apathy thing is kind of just like, meh.
I remember, like, when they did it on Lois and Clark, they did the apathetic version, and it was hilarious. Like, but it worked for the format of that show, because it's more like an action comedy.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he was like, yeah, no fucks. Like, shit happens, don't care.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like, she really became a threat.
Yeah.
Like, there was some really intense shit. Like, the stuff with Cat Grant was really interesting. Like,
yeah, that was funny.
Like, if you guys haven't seen it yet, like, this is, of course, obviously spoilery, but, she's been affected by the red kryptonite, and it starts off kind of slowly, like, she's dressing a little differently, being slightly more catty, more confident,
Yeah.
And this is the week she bounced Siobhan's ass the fuck out of there, which like,
so good. I was like, yes, finally.
Sets up her super villain, origin story.
Yeah, because like she's one of the main two villains for the crossover, and I'm like, you guys better get on that. Like, you got like 2-3 weeks for that. That's about it. So,
but she gets her fired, which really, like, okay, I still maintain this was not a dick move because, like,
no,
she was doing a very bad thing. Like, she was fucking trying to screw Kat over, and she just busted her out for it. Like, I would have done that.
Plus, at the very beginning, when she fucking showed up and got into it with Kara in the beginning, she told her what she was there for.
Yeah, she told her straight up she was trying to get rid of her, and she was going to fuck Kat over and shit.
She's like, I'm only here for myself. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. So it's not like, poor this chick. Kind of been like, she's been a bitch the whole time. Like,
yeah, fuck you, man.
This isn't like, this is karma. This is what she deserved.
Yeah, and kudos to Callista Flockhart again for being awesome because she fucking fired her in just an epically awesome way.
Just epically, like, bitch way. Like, yeah. You think I'll give you kudos? No. Oh, and I cock blocked you on another job.
For real. I said this too. Like, I hated her so much in the pilot episode, but she's grown so much on me. Like, she really has grown a lot. She has a lot of depth of character, and it's good acting too.
Yeah.
But, like, her and Supergirl on the balcony, and Supergirl's, like, she's kind of being mouthy to Supergirl, like, I made you and all this, and she's like, you don't know what power is.
Yeah, like,
power is the ability to choose between life and death.
That's what she said when she threw her off.
She fucking tosses her ass off the balcony of
Catco.
Just
like, oh, you want to, like, say some shit like you think you got a mouth, and just hucked her off the building, which was great.
And saves her, like, 2 seconds before splat.
There's like, but...
And she's like, I have real power, you have no power. Yeah, I'm like, holy shit, ball.
It was interesting, because it is one of those things from, like, the Kryptonian perspective of, like, you guys want to judge me, you want to say what all these different things, you want to, like, be this way and shit. She's like, I could break any one of you at any moment, like me and my cousin, basically. The only thing that holds us back is just our moral compass.
Our moral compass, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's why every time you see Kryptonians in the comics or in the shows or movies or anything, they always come off as really dickish, but they're not dickish by their standards. Like, by their standards, this is how their society works. Like, if you read, like, when they did the Man of Steel reboot in 1986, when John Byrne did it, and they showed what Krypton was like, it's antiseptic. It's very antiseptic. It's not, like, an emotional place.
Or New Krypton.
Yeah, they don't have traditional sexual kind of relationships and stuff like humans do. They don't have, like, love kind of relationships. Like, they have marriage and stuff, and they're like Vulcans. They're very Vulcan-y. Mm-hmm. And, like, they have a detachment,
They also did this something, too, when they brought in Daxamites, because Daxamites are cousins to Kryptonians, and they are the Romulan-esque type version, and then they are more
super passionate and shit.
Super passionate, but they're also super they don't like other anything
xenophobic.
Like, xenophobic as shit.
That's an excellent analogy too, because it's like Vulcan and Romulus is like Krypton and Daxam. Like, it's very much like that.
But it's like everybody's like, Vulcans and Romulans and shit like that. They're like that superiority thing, which yes, a lot of them do. You look at Zod, he's super superior. A lot of the other, but that's just their society. Like, their society is very much, they are, as a group, as a whole society, they have worked and consistently pushed boundaries and stuff to the point where it's like they are like the leaders and judge, jury, and executioner type
highly
people.
Scientific, highly about justice and like things like that.
But theirs is a very
very cold justice.
Cold, and it's very precise justice. It's not like there's not a lot of shades of gray and stuff. Like, I think if instead of the Guardians, like, everybody likes to think that the Guardians are like kind of assholes sometimes, and I'm like, okay, but look what would happen if you had like a council of like Kryptonians that were running the fucking.
Well, it's interesting. Like, I had some of those new Krypton Superman comics and stuff, and when like the Green Lanterns show up, they're like, we don't recognize your authority. Like, your Guardians have no authority over us. Like, we make our own fucking laws. We have our own justice. Go fuck yourself. You're not welcome here.
Yeah.
Like, we don't fucking kowtow to your little blue authority. Right. This is not how it shit works.
Which is funny, because one Guardian would smack the shit out of, like, Zod and them. Like,
but it's, yeah, like, she just kind of, like, that darkness within her comes out. And Melissa Benoist says she did a great job of that, like, playing a very different version of Kara. Like,
she played that, like, I'm free to be me, I don't have to hide this stuff, because, like, a lot of the stuff she was talking about, like, with, like, Alex and a lot of other people and stuff, it was pretty much a lot of, like, people imposing on her being her, like, you know, not Kara, but, like, her being Kryptonian, or her being, you know, like, having the passion about the stuff that she does. She has to be very, like, guarded and, you know, muted and all kinds of stuff, and it's like,
it's that I live in the world of cardboard, like, I live in the paper world and shit, and, like, that's the thing, like, every time other Kryptonians show up, other heroes will be like, man, you're not like that. It's a Superman, like, you're not like that. Why are they like that? And, like, you don't understand. Like, I was born here, basically.
Yeah, like that's how they are.
We were, like, Supergirl and Superman are raised with human values and in a human world. And even her, she was, like, 13 before she came
so she already has, like, a certain level. That's even the difference between those two is, like, you know, some people argue about, like, in different iterations of Supergirl is more powerful than Clark because of, one, her body was older when she got to Earth, so it does a better job of absorbing the solar energy, and then, two, because she kind of doesn't have that complete, you know, human element that kind of might cloud the moral, you know, thing. She sometimes has that Kryptonian thing where it's like, okay, no, here's a problem, here's a solution, go. You know, whereas Clark's like,
yeah, and that's the thing, like, if it shows it very often when you read, like, Elseworlds books, like the Red Sun Superman, like the Soviet Superman, or, like, other ones like that, where if he's not raised by the Kents, he's a very different person.
Yeah.
He's oftentimes almost dictatorial. Like, he has more of that Kryptonian. Like, it is much about your environment. Like, it's that nature and nurture thing.
You look at the Injustice comic and game that came out here recently, and was like, things happened in a way that caused him to basically reformat how superheroes worked.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was one of those things where it's just like, all right, to make this not ever happen again, I'm going to take complete control. You know?
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. That's another difference between, like, Kara and Clark is, like, Clark's limits are so much further than hers. Like, she doesn't have to be pushed nearly as hard before her, like, badass comes out or whatever. Like, Clark has to be pushed so far because he has patience, he has calm, he has all that shit that, like, it's been ground into him since he was a tiny, tiny baby. This world is paper to you. Like, you can't use your powers unless you have to. You can't get mad like other people can. And, like, Jimmy says this to Kara in some other episode. It wasn't this one. It was the one where she was getting really pissy and, like, after she'd lost her powers and shit.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have the luxury of getting pissed. Like, you can't. And that's the thing about Superman is, like, because of the way he was raised and trained and everything, is he doesn't really get angry until he's pushed beyond the limits of a normal person. Because, like, I can think of a few other heroes that could be pushed as far as you can push Clark before he snaps. Like, Bruce has mental discipline, but he also has a fucking temper.
He's got buttons. Like, and that's the thing. Like, you know, as far as, like, DC heroes, I don't know.
Exactly.
Like,
Wonder Woman and Aquaman both have terrible tempers, and they're very, very easy to light up if you want to.
I would say Kyle now.
Kyle's, world-weary Kyle? Yeah. Like, he's seen it all at this point.
Because he's been Ion, he's been the White Lantern.
And Hal before he snapped. Like, Hal before he snapped got pushed really fucking far before the snap happened, but when the fucking snap happened...
Yeah, it was bad.
Shit got real.
Yeah. And then, I mean, if you look at Marvel, I would say Cap. Cap is, like, a character that you can push...
Cap is extremely difficult to fucking snap.
For days. There's a few other ones of the Cap, in the Marvel universe and stuff.
But that's the one thing, like, Superman, he doesn't have that luxury, and neither does she really. But it's very much easier to make her fucking go off the deep end than it is him, because she doesn't have that lifetime of mental discipline and shit. She's got it since she was a teenager. as opposed to him since he was an infant. Yeah.
And then that's also too like in the world they have with her and stuff. She grew up with a sister.
Yeah,
who's not like she grew up with a family that's not hers and had siblings and stuff like that. And there was some like animosity type stuff, and that got brought up. There was a lot of like all the issues she brought up weren't like. Afterwards she was like, oh, I'm sorry, all this stuff. But then they're like, yeah, okay, I get that, but there's got to be a kernel of truth to all these things you're saying. It's not like you're just lying. You're just saying, angrier things.
It's just you're letting that shit that is the part of that we all have, that thing in the bottom of us that's that gripes that we all have that you just don't let out. Like the shit you don't say because it's not right to talk about it.
I would say Barry.
Barry's difficult to push,
Barry,
but I've seen him snap.
For a guy who's like all based around speed and quick things and stuff like that. That man
he's very easygoing.
Yeah, he has a lot of patience.
Yeah, Barry is
especially
very
out of all the speedsters.
Wally is even more easygoing, I think, than Barry. Like the Flashes in general are pretty good. Like they have a laid back approach to things.
Yeah.
Ollie, no. Ollie has a horrible temper. He's instantaneously hot headed.
Yes, he is.
Like, whether it's the version, actually, the TV version is less hot-headed than the version in the comics is, by far.
Yeah.
Because the Ollie in the show has more mental discipline than Ollie in the comics.
It's kind of like the Bruce.
Yeah, he's more like Bruce, because that's one of the things that, it's very obvious, and this is not a knock on Arrow at all, it's very obvious that they took a lot of cues from Bruce.
Yeah.
And it's obvious in the choice of villains sometimes, too. It's like they've taken a lot of Batman cues in there, and one of the things they took from Bruce is that mental discipline.
Yeah.
Trained by the League of Assassins, you get that fucking mental discipline.
But his was also, too, he was, his was a combination of who trained him and what he went through, because 5 years of torture will make things very trivial. Mm-hmm. So he has a lot of patience and discipline.
But it was an excellent show. Oh man, the end of the Martian Manhunter stuff, this is where fucking shit just hit the fan for John Jones, unfortunately. And it shows what a character, what strength of character he has.
Yeah.
Whether he'd rather expose himself, than see something happen to either Kara or her sister.
Yeah. Though there was a really good point that she pointed out, though. It was one of those things when she's like, hey, you can do some stuff too, and he was like, no, and stuff, and then she's like, oh, but it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay with everyone here that I go out and face certain death and shit like that, when you are just as equally as powerful as I am, but you won't ever choose to do it. And stuff.
Makes a good point.
It is kind of bullshit. She's like, you're afraid? What are you all kinds of... I mean, it was actions, consequences and stuff, but it is kind of one of those things that's true. It's like, man, you guys keep sending her out, and, she's... still trying to deal with a lot of stuff too. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. They put a lot of pressure on Kara, you know.
So that was a good one.
Oh yeah, we watched back-to-back Shields. It was the last week's and this week's, and it goes deeper into that whole Ward coming back from the dead, possessed by the Hydra thing or whatever. Hive, yeah.
It was Hive. They came out.
It's creepy.
And
he's fucking doing Imhotep and shit. Oh, it's disturbing as hell.
I mean, if you read the Secret Warrior stuff and find out who Hive is a very fucked up character.
You know what's cool for me watching S.H.I.E.L.D. and this stuff is that I'm glad I haven't read a lot of Marvel in the last 10 years or whatever, because all this stuff is new to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we watch the DC shows, it's I know a lot of this shit because I've read it already. So it's not they do shit straight out of the books, but you see where it comes from.
Yeah. So it's when things are changed, you know it.
Yeah.
Whereas Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you're I don't know any better, so ignorance is bliss.
Like that, and it's just it's new and exciting. It's oh, it's not the same shit I've seen already, or I don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, some of it, I know what's coming because it's some of the bigger stuff, and I have read some level of it. Yeah. But, it is more of a surprise sometimes when shit happens. I'm like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah, what?
And it was just, both episodes were good. I kind of it, since we watched them back-to-back, they kind of blend together as one, long episode. Yeah. But it was, I don't know, I've been missing it because it's been a while since it's been on because of the, the break or whatever.
Because, you got, the teams, and then you got, what is it? Legends, which is a team and stuff like that. But, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is different because it's, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, there's,
one or two powered people, and most of it's just, humans doing everything they can to fight against that.
The thing that's different to me about S.H.I.E.L.D. and like the DC shows is the DC shows they have long storylines that go all season, but their episodes are a little bit more contained.
Yeah.
And S.H.I.E.L.D. is very much like it's a continuing story.
Yeah.
Like they don't really have those like contained episodes as much. Like they'll have them occasionally.
They used to. That's what
when it first started, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But then once they hit that stride and they started like going that long haul, I liked it much more.
Yeah, I did too.
Because like it builds and then shit dips and weaves and builds and builds and builds.
And I think the reason why that works better for them is because it's a group show. You can't do really too much contained stuff with a group and feel like you're seeing everybody. Legends you can, because they somehow manage to constantly, rotate people in and out and what like kind of thing they're like doing stuff as a team. But it's very different with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's like you can go an episode where it was like there was the one episode where it was all Gemma on the planet.
Yeah.
That was a bold move because that was like you devoted an entire hour, which had not a lot of dialogue.
But so often they don't do that it worked.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to do that in shows where most of your shows are self-contained like that.
Because had that been in that era of, like, the self-contained stuff, people would have been like, this was a shit episode.
Yeah, and that's what happens in Walking Dead. Like, Walking Dead will do that. Well, they'll have that focus episode or whatever, and I'm like, oh, boy, I'm out of fucks, like, in 15 minutes. Of course, I'd stop watching it this season anyway. But, like, there was those episodes, like, in other seasons where it'll be like, here's an episode that's completely about one person, and I'm like, God, I'm
Daryl episode
fucking bored.
He had the arrow go through him, and it was like him and his brother and shit. And I'm like, I like Daryl, but come on.
That's not why I'm watching the show, But no, it works well, like, in S.H.I.E.L.D. because, like you say, like, they don't do that often, and it's like, when they do it, it puts emphasis on it.
Yeah.
And it needed to happen so you could understand what she was going through on there. And it was bold as fuck, and it worked. It worked very well. It's one of my favorite episodes they've done this season for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
because it really developed her as a character. Like, who she was and who she is now are two very different people, and it was all based off that one episode.
And I feel like with the people writing S.H.I.E.L.D. and doing the show and the acting and all that is so solid, and, like, they really are doing the best things about Marvel. And they're staying away from doing the stuff I hate,
I'll give them credit, though, because, like, to be honest, was like, okay, once it really came out and got established that Ward was the bad guy and stuff, I'm like, okay, how long are you going to be able to keep him around? Like, because it's going to be one of those things where I'm like, you can't just keep having him like, haha, I'm here and I kill somebody, and then nothing ever happens. I mean, they did that dance. I think this is, to me, is one of the ups and downs I had with Smallville was the dance between Clark and Lex. Like, it was one of those things where it's like, oh my god.
Man, like, I think that how they handled it in Smallville was that they did a lot of, like, okay, Lex is kind of, he may be in one or two scenes in this show, like this episode, but this episode's mostly about something else, but at least back there.
And they took a really good while before he finally
he turned full evil. Yeah. And having Lionel instead was like the solution to that.
Yeah.
And having, like, the Meteor Freak season and shit, and, like, when it's like, take the focus away from the thing, because, like, when it's Superman and Lex, eventually what's going to happen, but, like, you have to kind of draw that shit out in a good way,
Yeah.
But they're doing that with Ward, like, he has had some severe character evolution, like, having him in, like, the first season being, like, the fucking underwear model, like, square-jawed fucking...
I hated him.
Yeah, like...
I hated him.
But then the second he turned evil, it's like, yes, I fully believe it. Like, I
liked it.
fucking believe this guy's
really,
bad guy. He's a great bad guy. And that his character evolution as a bad guy is interesting, too, because, like...
He goes from being, like, bad to, like...
Yeah, it starts out with, like, he's loyal to Bill Paxton and shit, and, like, but he's still in love with Skye, and then, like, it's all about that for a while, and then it changes because he finally gets over that shit.
Because she fucking cold turkeys his ass.
Yeah, and then when, like, Hydra breaks down, he goes renegade and goes off with the one chick or whatever, then she gets killed, then he has new motivation to be fucking hating Coulson.
And he just gets more evil and evil.
Yeah.
And it's like, at first it's like he had a faith in Hydra, then that kind of got lost, and then it's like it kind of like came back, but you're not really sure. And then, what happens to him, which we all know. He basically gets killed. So it's that Faith was kind of slowly starting to be rebuilt, but then he died, and then now Hive has taken over his body, and now it's Ward in a third person type setting where
it's still physically the same. It looks like the same person, but it's not his personality.
It's got not the personality, but it's like all the knowledge, the memories.
Yeah, it's got his memories and knowledge and his motivations and stuff. Like the Hive, like it's talking, like it's in Ward's body and it's like recovering. Like oh man, that scene where it was eating is just so gross.
Yeah,
like they bring this big tray of raw meat and like giant pieces of raw steak and shit, and he's just like nomming on it. And I was like
nomming just like cooked meat off the bone, and you're
grody.
Like they've done a progressively good job of making him getting more and more depraved as a bad guy, like creepier, depraved, like just really like going from like, oh, okay, I was like kind of a broken bad guy and you kind of still felt for me because of what happened, to full on like psychosis, like you have went down the rabbit hole of crazy evil and like there's no redemption. That's it. Like the redemption was done by like halfway through second season.
Oh
like, the Ward character can never be redeemed.
No, under no circumstances.
Yeah. But he doesn't need to be. That's the thing.
No.
Even though there's been bigger bad guys season to season, he is like the consistent bad guy that will always like be the thorn in their side. And it works. He does a really good job.
It hurts that much more because he's the guy they trusted. Yeah. Like, he's the guy that, and then because of him, so many people are dead.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, other interesting stuff, like, that have, like, character development on Mockingbird and character development on Hunter. Like, that was interesting because, like, in the second episode, they bring in Talbot to be the new head of the ATCU. And they're furious. Like, Hunter is losing his fucking mind because, like, his bodyguard is Crusher Creel.
Yeah.
And that's the guy who killed Lucy Lawless and his other friends and shit. He fucking hates this guy.
Yeah, he's like, I won't kill him.
Talbot's like, oh, he was, brainwashed by Hydra, and he's a good kid and shit. And Hunter's like, I'll fucking end his life.
He's like, I don't, and that's the thing. Even May's like, yeah, but he had a record long before any of that shit. And it's like, Talbot's, just sticking up for him he's like, I trust him with my life, and Hunter's like, I want to kill him. Like, I don't care what excuse you think you got, like, I want to kill him. And Hunter is a character that, like, toes that line in a very limited way. I wholeheartedly see where they're going with this possibility of them leaving and going to a different show, because like, even Bobby sometimes has that, like, questionable and stuff, but Hunter is, like, one bad decision away from being, like, fuck off.
It's like, that's the difference. Like, part of the team is, like, completely and totally loyal to Coulson no matter what he does.
Yeah.
Like, the core team people, like May and Sky and Fitz and Simmons, they're, like, core team, completely loyal to fucking Coulson no matter what. And then there's Mac and Hunter and Bobby, who are like, not as much. Like, Mac more now than
Mac
before.
more now.
But Hunter was like, yeah, okay, you are in charge, and I trust your judgment for the most part, but there's going to be a point where I don't want to do what you are telling me to do, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, because now you're pushing me into, like, things where it's like, Hunter is, like, having to deal with people and situations where he's like, this is not my thing. Like, I don't think if Bobby wasn't there, he'd have been gone.
No, he'd been long gone. Long gone.
So,
but they were both really good episodes. I won't spoil much out of them because I recommend watching them.
Yeah, they're both really good.
And there's too much good stuff in there to spoil.
And they keep progressing the Secret Warriors stuff.
Oh yeah,
you get more.
I like how they've really just taken the reins with the Inhuman stuff in S.H.I.E.L.D. because like it was like Inhumans is something that I've always liked, and that like I would think in some levels without a lot of like origin story stuff would be difficult to do movie wise. But now that they've laid so much groundwork in the series, I think it would be a hell of a lot easier when they want to come and actually try to do an Inhumans movie.
Which is still on the docket to do. It's going to be interesting because, like, they've done a lot of, like... In the comics, they've alluded to the fact that, like, we all know that the Inhumans, or people that do know about the Inhumans, is always, the royal family. Black Bolt, Medusa, all those guys. What recently they've started talking about is like offshoot factions of Inhumans, like new humans and different tribes. In the comics, Lash was kind of a leader of a different tribe, but there are a lot of like different groupings of them. So there's always a possibility for the way they've set it up that the royal family could show up and it just be like, this faction of Inhumans that we're seeing is from like this different tribe, and it had nothing to do with the royal family, like Black Bolt and all them, which I would love to see that, man. Medusa, Black Bolt, Gorgon, Gorgon, Triton, Karnak would be interesting one too, huh? Lockjaw, Crystal.
Lockjaw.
I wonder if they would put Lockjaw and Crystal in it though. I feel they're very integral to the.
They're all about doing the animal characters. Like if they were ballsy enough to put Rocket on the screen, they'll put Lockjaw out there.
He doesn't talk, so
he's even cooler though.
He's like, giant teleporting
slobbering bulldog
who teleports people. He's awesome, So they have definitely set it up. Now it's just one of those things because like the show takes a lot of cues from the universe, but I've seen a lot of articles where it's like a lot of people are very like kind of a little annoyed that the universe doesn't take any cues from the show.
Yeah,
like it's basic. That type of situation. So it's one of those, as far as the Inhumans, will the universe take any cues from stuff that's already been established, or are they basically just going to come in and be like, we don't give a shit what's happened on,
It's difficult to say because, by and large...
they're two different things now.
They are, but, the movies, they do involve the stuff from TV. Like, they've been pretty good on almost all the movies about acknowledging, the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff is good about bringing stuff in about the movies, too.
I think it's, with those, is it was easier to acknowledge S.H.I.E.L.D. in the beginning. Now it's a little bit different. Once Winter Soldier and, the other stuff has happened, they really don't have to pay too much attention to S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore now.
No, they don't have to because it's a different sort of... But they still do, though. They still do have cues to things, and there's still cues on the show about things.
On the show, yes, but in the movies, they haven't done so much more with them since what's happened. So it's kind of one of those things where if a movie comes out about Inhumans, will they take, the stuff from the show? Because it seems like some people are very keen to think they might not. And other people think they might because of the whole, they're separate things now. TV show's not run by the movie division. It's run by...
But everything I hear, everything they talk about, they still say that it's one universe, though.
It is one universe. They just, it's one of those things where they ever take
the thing I'm wondering about is, since they've been good about, involving the S.H.I.E.L.D. show, in the movie stuff, is that, are they, when the time comes to acknowledge stuff from, Daredevil or Jessica Jones
Defenders,
and Defenders, when are they going to do that?
That was the other thing the article was talking about, was will the Netflix shows ever have anything? Because again, the Netflix shows have taken cues from stuff that have happened in the movies.
Yeah.
But will they ever do the opposite?
Yeah.
And people are worried that they kind of think it may not, which I think would suck. To me, it would make no sense. Why would you do all this work to have this giant cohesive universe, and then basically because some things from a TV show you're going to deny it, but then look at that TV show and be like, but you have to acknowledge everything that we've done in the movies.
The thing is with the Netflix shows, I think because they're more on a street level, that you don't have to acknowledge them as much in the movies.
No, I don't.
Or even at all. But vice versa though, the big shit that's happening in the movies needs to kind of be acknowledged in the smaller shows.
Yeah.
Because it's such big world level shit.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time though, you look at Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and those are more street level guys and stuff like that. But I mean, kind of in the grand scheme of things, kind of so is Spider-Man. But yet Spider-Man is getting, humped up into the
I wouldn't say he necessarily is, though, because he's kind of been on a big scale in the comics a lot more than those characters have.
Recently, yes, but
I don't know. He's always been considered an A-level hero.
I've always considered
all of them have been like Daredevil is the closest to an A-level hero that they've done a show above, but like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, those are kind of B-level heroes.
Yeah, I mean, and I get that, but to me, at best, Spider-Man was a B+ hero.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Spider-Man, but like ultimately they consider him to be on that level.
Yeah, but that's not because of powers or anything like that. It's because of popularity. It's like, to me, he is not an A-list hero.
Me personally, I don't consider him there, but they consider him there.
And that's the thing, though. But he is, like, by all means, he is a street-level hero, though.
He's more of a street-level hero than some of them, yeah.
Yeah, like...
But then he also fights big, fanciful villains and shit, too. Unlike Daredevil, Daredevil has some bigger villains, but they're not, like, super fancy, haha type villains. They're more, like, dirtier, grittier villains like Kingpin and shit like that. Like, Kingpin is a big villain, but he's not a big, like... flamboyant type villain. Like he's more of a mob boss type guy. Like, but I mean, it's not like Doctor Doom or something.
Yeah, but at the same time, like that's the thing though. They've also had like Spider-Man pretty much go.
Spider-Man's fought Kingpin too, but he's not like one of his main bad guys.
No, but like
Spider-Man also fights motherfuckers like Mysterio and shit. Like,
yeah, but see, Mysterio's not a big bad guy.
No, but he's a grandiose bad guy. You know what I'm talking about? He's a big theatrical villain.
He's a Joker bad guy.
Yeah, he is. But that's the thing, though. That's the difference between.
Look-wise is more larger than life, but as far as a bad guy, he's a street level thug.
He's a shitty villain, but he's like the big theatrical super villainy villains. Like,
but I mean, he's still like on that level though. He's still most of Spider-Man's, other than the symbiotes and maybe Osborn, most of his bad guys are like low powered or street level guys.
They're maybe low powered, but they're more that sort of like your traditional flamboyant-y super.
They're just a rogues gallery.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
You can say that about Flash too. Like most of the villains he fights are kind of like lower level, lower powered guys and shit too. But they're also that archetypal supervillain. Yeah. But like when Daredevil or Ghost Rider or Punisher, those guys, they don't really fight those kind of guys. Like Daredevil's got like Bullseye is probably the closest to a theatrical villain that Daredevil's got. But, like, most of the time, they're fighting kind of more serious guys.
Yeah, more serious. Ghost Rider's weird because Ghost Rider
fights demons and shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this has kind of always been one of those things that annoys the shit out of me because, like, supernatural stuff is not necessarily... It's not viewed at as the same level as, like, cosmic shit and stuff like that. And I'm like, but you realize on most levels, it's almost more... like you look at people like Doctor Strange and shit like that, like he holds off entities from another dimension that would completely wipe this planet, and then they're like, oh, but this alien race, and I'm like, yeah.
And that's the thing, it's the difference between like planetary level threats and cosmic level threats.
Yeah.
Like the entire cosmos is in deep shit if Galactus is pissed or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like Fantastic Four. Like they fight that combination of like cosmic bad guys and like grandiose you know what I'm saying? Like, there is that level. Like, like, if Daredevil, busted up on Mysterio or something, you just kick the shit out of him, like, and be like, what the hell are you? You're a joke, or any of those kind of bad guys. But that's, like, Spider-Man fights those kind of guys and shit. And, like, like, Cap does, too. Cap fights those big-level guys.
But that's the funny thing about it, though, is because Cap fights them like Daredevil would fight them. He just straight beats the crap out of them. Whereas Spider-Man... bumblefucks through half these fucking things, and they're like, oh, he's an A-lister. I'm like, do you realize he is basically the equivalent of, like, the guy that's constantly tripping over shit into somehow victory? Like, I'm sorry. He is not an A-lister hero. He is a, like... I tripped into some friendships that got me on the Avengers team or some shit like that. Or he's so dippy fuck enough that, like, people like the cosmic things are like, I don't know, he intrigues me in some way or some shit like that. So we'll have him pick a team of heroes. And it's like on the animated show where he had to pick a team of heroes to, like, fight against the team of supervillains. I'm like, you had Cap on there. You always defer to Cap as the leader, not Spider-Man. Like...
This is the
Peter
thing,
Parker's
it's like
a dipshit.
Yeah, he is, and it's that level. Well, I mean, like, actually, he's really smart, but like, It's just that level
street smarts
of like these heroes like choose to be, whether you're the theatrical kind of hero or you're the street level kind of hero, and Daredevil is that street level kind of hero.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight those big flamboyant supervillains. He fights thugs and shit. You know?
Yeah, he just doesn't fight costume like freaks in costumes.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the thing. He takes on people that are like not like, oh, I'm trying to rob a bank. He's like, no, I take on people that are killing.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why like he doesn't necessarily have to be acknowledged all that much in the movies, because most of what they're dealing with in the movies is the big shit.
Yeah,
it's like the big old like, flamboyant shit. Like, you can acknowledge that he exists, obviously.
Then that's what I'm saying. Not necessarily just acknowledge that they exist, because like you might not have to acknowledge that each individual's, but come the Defenders series, they're gonna have to acknowledge the Defenders.
It just depends on what they do with it. Like, because the Defenders in the comics are like, and you know, they're not as big as the Avengers, but they are that level of team.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
but if they're, I don't know, like how they would translate that into like the way that they're doing the Netflix shows, because they seem much more grimy and gritty and serious, and it like seems like weird to have a team show in that. But it would be more like a street level team thing, and then it wouldn't like. Then if they translated it to be more like Avengers, it would seem out of place to me.
I could see them like kind of doing an Avengers-esque type like thing, but not. I don't know, kind of giving it more. Like that same mentality of like the heroes coming together, but not in that like world ender way, but like it seems like very much like these heroes are very centered in New York. That's their area, you know, like. Yeah,
the Defenders like originally were offshoot from a group called the Champions of California, which were a West Coast based team. Yeah. And so, like, the original lineup was much different than, like, what you would think. Like, it was, like, Hulk was a Defender, Valkyrie, Angel was a Defender for a while. Like, I think Beast was, too. Like, it was, like, a weird combination of, like, X-Men offshoots and Avengers offshoots. And guys who didn't normally team up.
Yeah. And that's kind of what it looks like. They're just doing it more for New York, because New York's the focal point of where they keep attacking a lot of places. Yeah. But I could see them having to, from what I've seen in the shows, have to like team up to take on like an organization or a group, you know, almost kind of like a Sinister Six.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess at a meta level, I would, if I were a bad guy, I would never attack New York, because there's just too many fucking heroes.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm like, I'm gonna go out to Tacoma, Washington, where there ain't nobody, and take over.
Everybody's like, I'm gonna destroy New York. I'm like, no, you're gonna get your shit pushed in by like at least 6 different teams.
I'm gonna go destroy Cleveland.
Yeah, at least 6 different teams of badasses. Like,
ain't nobody in Cleveland.
They're like, oh, that's not that bad. I'm like, even if the Avengers are off-world, you got the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
you still have the X-Men. You have, like, you know, Spider-Man.
Like, this, okay, you know what? This is one of the things Mutants, that's better about DC in a way.
Secret Warriors.
What's better about DC than Marvel to me is that all the heroes at DC spread out. Like, everybody don't live in the same fucking city. Marvel has an obsession with New York. Like, everybody must be in New York for some fucking reason.
Or, like, surrounding
New York.
I mean,
but in DC, they all have their own town. Yeah. Like, and then when Justice League comes together to take care of big shit.
They don't live on the planet.
They don't even live on the planet. Yeah.
Like, you know, Avengers are like, nope, we're in Manhattan. You know, I'm like, come
Like, at least when they had, like, West Coast Avengers and shit, like, at least they were spread the fuck out a little bit more.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you look at, like, West Coast and then, what was the other one?
The Great Lakes.
The Great Lakes Avengers. Dude, both those teams kind of got shit on.
The Mort team of the century.
Yeah, they got kind of shit on pretty hard.
The West Coast Avengers was a sweet-ass team.
It was a sweet team, but in comparison, it kind of got shit on. It was like that bastard Step Brother.
It is. It's like the B-Team NWO or something.
And then Great Lakes was like the Step Brothers' friend.
They're like, you can't be called Avengers. We don't actually acknowledge you.
You're just the Great Lakes team.
One of the things I liked about the like post-Civil War shit, where they did like each state had a team.
Yeah.
Like, instead of everybody in fucking New York, they were like, okay, this is team for, like, they took the bigger heroes and were like, okay, here's a team for you in, like, you know, Nebraska. Here's a team for you in California. Here's a team for you here. Like, that made sense. Like, instead of every motherfucker in the world living in New York, like, I swear to God, if I were Supergirl, I'd never set foot in New York.
I'm like, they make New York seem like it was like, it is the nation's capital. They're like, why is everybody trying to kick the Statue of Liberty's ass? Like, I'm like, nah, screw attacking the president. I'm kicking that statue's ass. And I'm like,
talking about teams, though, this is like something I brought up before we started recording. I've been reading a lot of Titans, like or not Titans, but the Outsiders.
Outsiders, yeah. And Titans.
And Titans. I was reading some Titans, too.
Stuff, too.
I do like Titans a lot. I was reading some Outsiders, the Judd Winnick run on Outsiders, and I was thinking about, like, teams that have a combination of powered heroes and non-powered heroes, and, like... Because there are teams that are, like, fully just powered heroes.
Because, I mean, you look at the Justice League, and, like... Pretty much Batman is the only non-powered person. And I know people can make an argument for Green Lantern and stuff because he has the ring. It's a thing. And I'm like, that's cool. But also, the thing is, with that ring, he goes bumped up to, like, Superman.
And technically, the ring only works because of his willpower, so it is a superpower.
It is a super thing, you know. So, yeah. And, I mean, you look at, like, Cyborg. People want to be like, man, Cyborg. And I'm like, yeah, but Cyborg has a lot of power. He's a cybernetic being. He's got a lot of power and stuff like that. I know it's tech, but, I mean, it's very... You know,
sorry, my underwear about 9 miles up my ass right now.
But I mean, yeah, you look at like a Young Justice, Outsiders, even Titans and stuff like that. Titans depends on what run it is and stuff, but you know, you look at them and there's a good mix of like your people with powers, people without powers. You know, so.
What's like, I like the teams that have the combination because like this Outsiders run that I'm reading right now, it's like Nightwing and Arsenal.
Yeah.
There's your two guys that are depowered, you know, no power guys, but they're great. Then Thunder, which is Black Lightning's daughter, who has like the density powers and like you know she's awesome. And then Grace, who's like a big jacked up like you know powerhouse. Yeah. And then you got Metamorpho, which is like, you know, your elemental powers and all that. Jade. And Jade, which is your Green Lantern style hero, except for she's literally powered from within.
Yeah,
she is one with the Star Heart, like just like Alan is. Yeah. Like she's born of the Star Heart, basically.
And then eventually they add Huntress.
Yeah, and they're using Huntress. Huntress is like... in the run that I'm reading right now, Huntress is like a temporary replacement for Roy because Roy gets shot 5 times with hollow points in the chest and damn near dies.
Takes some shit, yeah.
And then you've got Indigo, which is also on that team, who's like, that's before she reveals herself as Brainiac.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting combination of people. Like, there's the powered people and the depowered people, which is always entertaining to me about Titans and Outsiders, is that often the leader of the group is the one who doesn't have powers.
Yeah.
It's like Batman was the original Outsiders leader.
Yep.
He's the one who brought the original Outsiders together, and he was completely unpowered.
Yep.
But he was the only unpowered one in the original team.
Yeah, in the original one, yeah.
But in this one, Arsenal and Nightwing are basically the leaders.
Yeah.
And neither one of them have powers.
Yep.
And it's an interesting combination to like watch, especially because Nightwing is like, of course, like trained Batman leader.
Yeah.
And Roy is trained by Ollie.
Yeah.
So both of them are great leaders.
Yeah.
You know, for different reasons.
In fact, actually, I would say, and this is, I've heard a lot of arguments about this too, is that both Arsenal and Nightwing are viewed as better leaders than Batman or Ollie ever could be.
Yeah.
Because they both have their hang-ups.
Yeah.
And being trained by them, both Roy and Dick saw these hang-ups and were able to kind of overcome them. They still have their issues, but like they were able to overcome certain flaws in their predecessors.
This is why, to me, and I know this will be blasphemous to a lot of people, but this is why Dick is a better Batman to me.
Yes.
Like when Dick took over as Batman, I found him to be a much better Batman.
I agree.
I think Dick is a better Batman than Bruce.
Yeah.
Like Bruce is crazy. Ultimately, he is really mentally disturbed.
It's because like
Dick is pretty well sane.
Yeah. Dick became Batman out of a necessity, not out of a desire. Like, if you've read it enough to know that is actually the last thing.
No, he didn't want to be
Batman and stuff. Like, when he was younger, yeah, he did. But then when he got to it, he didn't. You know, and he never wanted Tim or, like, even Damian to become Batman and stuff like that. To become Batman...
You have to lose a part of yourself.
You have to lose a part of yourself. You have to take on this thing that is, like... almost as evil as the things that you're fighting, and he knew that, and that's why he never wanted to be that. And I mean, Roy kind of saw that with Ollie. Ollie had some obsessive things, and but also had bad issues with like being kind of a flake, and.
What it makes me think of when I read Outsiders and Titans and all that, what makes me think is that like a team that has both powered and non-powered people together is far superior to a team with all powered people.
Oh, yeah.
Because you run into the situations where if you're all powered people, what happens if whatever this villain you're fighting has an ability to negate your powers?
Yeah. Steal them.
Or steal
Parasite.
them. Yes. Unless it's like Parasite or something, or it feeds off energy or some shit like that, where like your powers are the detriment.
Yeah.
Then guys like Dick and Roy are going to be the ones who save your ass.
Katana.
Because they don't need that other shit. Yeah. Like, they don't, like, there's that, they did the superhero text things. That was that funny thing. It was like the group JLA text where they're like, Superman's like, sorry guys, I can't join in because my powers are gone this week. And then Bruce is like, I don't have powers. And Wonder Woman's like, even without my powers, I'm still like a, badass
fighter.
warrior.
Aquaman's like,
same thing. Yeah. They're like, so basically you're the most useless member of this team if you don't have powers.
Yeah.
And and as much as I love Superman, it's the truth. Basically, without Superman, without powers, Clark is useless because he's not a trained fighter.
Even Hal, without his ring,
still can fight.
And still is a pilot, a highly trained combat pilot. If Bruce was ever ballsy enough to let Hal fly the bat plane while he was on the ground, Hal would wreck people with it. It's one of those things. Flash, without his fucking speed, is still a criminal, like damn near as good a detective as Batman.
Yeah, I mean, in a fight he wouldn't be all that useful, but like as a part of the team, as like someone support, yeah. But basically, Clark has no skill other than the fact that he's Superman. Like, he's a reporter, useless skill in crime fighting, like, investigative, I guess you have some level of skill, but like it's really still not all that applicable. Like, if you took his powers away and you fought him hand to hand, you're gonna kick his ass.
Yeah, because
he's not a trained fighter. He's a brawler. Superman is a brawler, and that's one of the things I like about Man of Steel is they portray him that way.
Yeah,
like a lot of times in Superman, like they don't really portray him as much of a brawler as he is, but he is. He's a bare knuckle brawler. He has no real fight training whatsoever.
Yeah, I could throw punches. When was the last time you literally, other than maybe just a straight boot, saw him kick? Or really,
he'll like fly into people, or he'll hammer fist motherfuckers, or like he'll slam down like double axe handle or something. Like he's like fighting a wrestler. Like it's kind of like that. Like
that's the thing. Like him and Hulk are very similar in their fighting style. Sometimes in certain iterations, I say Hulk's a better fighter. But yeah, for the most part, they're very much the same as like they're just smash. Wonder Woman's been trained since birth, like Thor. They are like genuine badass fighters. I think this is one of the things why they've always been able to, like, Wonder Woman could go toe to toe with Superman, or Thor could go, not necessarily toe-to-toe for a long period of time, but he could go kind of the distance with, like, Hulk, is because their training enabled them to be able to do certain things.
And then when you've got, like, Ollie, and you've got, like, or if you're the Avenger, like, Avengers has the same thing. You have your powered heroes and your non-powered heroes. Yeah. Like, some Avengers teams are a little light on the non-powered heroes.
Yeah.
But, like, the movie Avengers, like, they use Black Widow and Hawkeye, and they're, two unpowered individuals.
I mean, even when you look at it, though, Cap, comparatively, is on the low end, and I've even read stuff where, like, when Wolverine joined the Avengers and they were fighting something and he was getting ready to go in, and Cap's like stops him and he's like, no. He's like, this is Iron Man and Thor. They are our heavy hitters. Like Hulk, those guys, like, they are our heavy hitters. We are here to do a certain thing. And Wolverine's like, no, like, that's not how it goes. He's like, in X-Men, I was a heavy hitter, and he's like, yeah, but the X-Men, we're the Avengers. Like, even Cap is like, I'm not a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
He's like, I know this. He's like, yeah, I'm super soldier, but, like, I'm not a heavy hitter.
Cap is a leader.
Yeah.
Cap's biggest skill is being a leader.
Yeah.
Like, he is an inspiration. He's a leader. He inspires the team. Like,
and I always say that Cap's super soldier abilities heighten his ability to be a leader, because he has the speed, the endurance, the agility, like all that stuff to stay spatially aware of what is going on in a fight. He's not having to necessarily worry as hard about what's going on with him.
He's also a delegator. Like, he knows, he's a strategist.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of those guys, as talented as they are, they know dick for strategy.
Yeah.
And Cap is a soldier.
Yeah.
He knows strategy. He knows how to fucking send in who needs to be sent in. That's what makes him a good leader.
And this is... And what's interesting, too, is, like, even though with the Justice League, Superman was always viewed as the leader, Batman is this far superior strategist.
Strategist, yes, but he's not stable enough to be a leader.
No, not stable enough to be a leader and stuff. But it's like, it's different how they play off those things. But then when you get to Outsiders or Young Justice and stuff like that, Dick is the combination of both of them. Yes. He has the leading capabilities that Superman had, but has the strategy capabilities of Batman.
And this is why Dick is far superior to Bruce.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes him a better Batman. It's what makes him a team leader. It's what makes him all those things. This is why it's the student surpasses the teacher. Yeah. Ultimately, Batman fails because he's too unstable.
Yeah.
Unstable, I should say.
I think when it comes to a group, you do need to have powered and unpowered people. You need to have, and even when it comes to powered people, you need to have eclecticness on that. You need to have, like, your cosmically powered, you need to have your magically powered, you need to have all these things. When you come to your unpowered people, you need to have your, like, detective type character, you need to have your acrobat, you need to have your projectile type character. There needs to be a nice balance across the board. And like, this has kind of been my issue with the Legends lineup, because I've agreed with what I read in an article about the lineup being unbalanced. Yeah. And it is, because the thing with it is, especially after they took out Hawkman. Yeah. Because your best fighters were Hawkman and White Canary. Hands down, best fighters. Your best projectile fighters, Firestorm, and probably Snart or Atom.
Atom and Firestorm are kind of like, that level.
On par. And then you've got Snart and Rory, as far as being kind of like thugs, ideas. Like, they got a little bit of a mix of things that they can do. Their specialty. But they were really heavy on, like, blaster stuff.
Yeah, blaster stuff.
You had both Firestorm, Atom, Captain Cold, and Heatwave, and even Rip Hunter.
Yeah, he's pistols,
Pistols and stuff like that. That is a lot of, like, ranged blaster
They have no real powerhouse. That's the thing. Like, they don't have a powerhouse guy. Like, they don't have their Hulk.
Adam's
they don't
probably
have
their closest
thing. And then it's just a suit.
It's the suit. It's the Iron Man. It's like, that type of thing. But
they don't have a strong man. They don't have, like, your pure punishment taker. Like, they don't have they don't have a tank. Like, it's like, look at it in D&D terms, or look at it in, like, gaming terms or whatever.
It's all DPS.
It's all like DPS, and it's all like fucking ground effect and shit. Like, they have area of effect and stuff. They have no tank.
Nope.
They have no fucking, like, your bearer of the punishment.
Yeah.
Because there's no one on that team who's able to take that much of an ass kicking.
Yeah.
Like, you need a guy like, somebody who's got some level of powers that's like a strength powers or a durability.
Something where it's
something like that.
Yeah. I mean, they've been falling heavily on the suit and Firestorm to be able to take a lot of that punishment.
Yeah.
I think as far as, like, the second season, I would like to see a change up in the team and kind of see,
man, if they could have kept Atom Smasher and, like, not just had him be a one-off villain, he would have been perfect for that.
Or because
he's a guy who's got strength and density powers who can take a fucking beating, and they can also be a normal-sized guy and shit too. Like, he would have been perfect for that.
Yeah.
And he's not a high-level, A-lister kind of hero either.
It would have been nice to have seen, Edge.
Edge, yeah. That would have been great,
Copeland get to play more.
You need a guy like that. You need one of those guys who has that ability, like, even a Colossus-level guy or something. Someone who, has the ability to take an ass-kicking and deal one out.
Yeah.
And, like, Sarah can take an ass-kicking, too, but only to a certain extent that a human can take.
Yeah.
But you need somebody who's got more of an ass-kicking ability.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is one of those things where it's like, I think perspective-wise, too, is like, after so long of being a powered person, you need that non-powered perspective.
Yeah.
Because, like, you rely so heavily on your powers to get you out of this situation or to solve this situation, and the unpowered people are like, yeah, okay, but here's the thing. Collateral damage, destruction, lack of surprise, like, here's all these different reasons why your powers need to be the last alternative, because like we don't have those, and yet we still can do the things that like.
If I have any gripe about that whole like Arrow Flash verse and stuff, it's like there really aren't any kind of like powerhouse guys in there at all. They're all the heroes are kind of like more about, you know, razzle dazzle powers and shit, and not about like pure raw strength and stamina.
Supergirl's the only one.
And she's in an alternate universe, you know? Like, but even the ones that they've come over, like Atom Smasher is really the only one that's come over that's been like a really, like they had the one, what's his name, the rusty looking motherfucker, who like has a steel skin and shit, like the one bad guy.
Flash had Girder.
Girder, yeah. Like they had Girder as a bad guy in there, but even he was like not all that high. He's like your Colossus-y sort of level, and he's not even as high level as Colossus, I would say, probably.
He was a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And it was literally one of those things where, you know, he got killed. I feel they killed him in a really way too easily in a bitch manner.
The thing is, like, you don't need to bring Superman in there, obviously, but you need somebody that's like that strength level. You need your
a Wonder Woman or an Aquaman level, like durability would be perfect.
You need one of those kind of like
Vixen. I think right now as far as on the shows go, is the only person that can dish out an ass whooping, because she can channel the strength of like a rhino or a gorilla and stuff like that. But I don't think she can take it as well. And it's like you need somebody who can do that.
Yeah, I mean, you need somebody who's got that level of ability and that level of powers and stuff. Like, they just really don't have any of those kind of powered characters at all. And that's something that needs to change, I think. Like, that's something that they need to think about. Like, you know, there's going to be a time where you need to have a little bit more of a powerful guy.
Well, there have been some rumors. You know, a lot of things are going on. Guardian's supposed to be showing up on Supergirl. There's a rumor going around since Legends got renewed for a second season. You know, which is awesome. It's their third highest rating show.
Fuck yeah.
You know, Flash is first, Arrow's second, they're third. You know,
that should tell you something right there.
Those
fuck you, Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, fuck you. Like, you can suck it. Especially because they know what they're doing. Supergirl got renewed for her second season, which is good. But there's a rumor that come the like season finale, a beloved DC hero is going to get introduced, and him or her being introduced into the mix is going to completely set up for what the second season is. Because I said this too. You can probably maybe get away with a season and a half of Savage. You are not going to be able to run this thing the whole way.
No.
Like, Savage is a great diabolical bad guy.
Yeah.
But you're traveling across time. You're doing such like epic level like lengths to get him.
Yes.
You can't drag this out multiple seasons. It's, you know, it's just not going to happen. So they have to, if this is a show they want to keep going, they're going to have to, change things up.
Oh, yeah.
And because of that, because of the character setup, you know characters are going to leave. I'm pretty damn sure Snart's going to be leaving.
Yeah.
Because they are they're reviving the Prison Break show. So both him and
Dominic Purcell
are going to be going and doing that. Plus, it also makes sense too. Even at his best in the comics, Snart didn't stay a good guy for long. Not for long. So we're going to see them go away, which it's fine. You know, I say then you're more villainous type character. You're more like not good guy. Will fall on Sarah.
You know, you need a character like Atom or Damage or Hourman or somebody like that who's like a power. Hourman's actually perfect. I tell you why. Because Hourman is powerful, but only in short bursts.
Yeah.
He doesn't naturally have powers. The Miraclo gives him a power. He has a power hour.
Yeah.
So once you pop that Miraclo or whatever they would do in this, you're only powerful. He's only like that superhuman level powerful for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So that it makes him very powerful, but it gives you limitations.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect kind of thing that they need for this because it's a believable thing in that universe.
Yeah. And, well, there's also the other alternative with that too. Yeah, the Android
or the Android one.
I think the Android is actually
because
the perfect fit.
It ties into Rip Hunter.
Yeah,
it ties into the time travel shit. The Android Hourman is perfect for that.
Yeah,
and they've already teased Hourman.
Yes,
they've talked about it. Like tease about Hourman, and Hourman's perfect for this.
Yeah,
like I said,
they've already in the Flareverse have already brought in Atom Smasher, Jay Garrick, who else? Wildcat. They've brought in a bunch of other JSA people.
Yeah, so you've got, like I say, you got Damage, you got Atom, you got Hourman, Liberty Bell, any of those kind of that level of power heroes. Yeah. Like even Commander Steel would be perfect for that world because like his powers are easily explainable in that world. And he is he's got built-in problems with his powers. He's his skin is basically liquid steel, the equivalent of having steel for skin. But he crushes everything he touches. He can't feel anymore, really. Yeah. He's a tragic sort of character in a way, but he's also a powerhouse and a damage taker.
Yeah.
That's the perfect kind of character.
He's Rick Shithouse.
Like I say, Hourman or him or Commander Steel or Atom or Damage. Like any of those characters are ones that can take and give out.
You're talking old school Atom though.
Yeah, I'm talking Al Pratt Atom, nuclear powered Atom, like that.
The one that was like the wrestler and could go with the fighting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are really good ones, I think, and I think that is a thing they need to add into the mix. Because you will have your Sarah and you will have your Rip, and then you'll have if Firestorm leaves, because they've alluded to Robbie ML coming back and being it and stuff. So there's a lot of changes that could happen, but it definitely does need to. The lineup needs to be shaken up. I want to see the story finish, but I want to see the lineup change too, because the lineup is a little unbalanced in certain ways, and it needs to kind of find a little bit more of a balance point. Like
fucking Stargirl would even be one you could use because of the belt, she is a damage taker and a damage giver. Or fucking God damn it, what the hell is his name? The Star Spangled Kid, Sylvester, he's a character that is an ass kicker of that level. You can take the damage, any of those kind of characters.
Who else was actually one they talked about, being a character they would love to see get brought onto Legends? Static Shock.
Static Shock, yeah.
Static Shock would be an interesting one to get brought on. But then I think you're trading another blaster for another blaster. I'm
I've never really been all that much of a Static Shock fan myself, but I understand why people like the character.
I like Static Shock, don't get me wrong. It's
the only version of him I actually ever liked was the old man version that's in Batman Beyond.
Yeah. But it goes to that thing is okay, but if you have Static Shock, you could have Black Lightning and
Sandman.
Sandy, yeah.
Not the old school Sandman, but Sandy the Golden Boy version of Sandman, Sand, who has the ability to go through the earth and shit like that. That's an interesting level one because he can expand and do all that shit.
Or Metamorpho.
Metamorpho's a good one too. There's so many that would be a good fit, but they're not too powerful. That's the thing. That's the rub. You don't want them to be too powerful because if they're Superman level powerful, then what's the point of all the rest of you?
Yeah.
There has to be a balance. Yeah. But we could probably talk about this all night, but I know we're getting past the hour mark here, and I want to talk about our upcoming live appearance on Saturday, April the 2nd. We're going to be at the Pure Michigan Con, even though we're not Michiganders. John Colell and those guys are adopting us for a day. It's only $5 admission from 10 a.m. to 10:30 to 6, and there's also a costume and cosplay thing from 5:30 to 8. There's going to be all kinds of folks there, including, of course, us, but not limited to the great and amazing Arvel Jones, one of my all-time favorite comic book artists. He was responsible for All-Star Squadron, many different Marvel and Milestone books. He's done TV animation and co-creator of the character Misty Knight, which is a big character right now in Marvel. Scott Razima, who's been for DC Marvel and Space Ghost, of course. Gary Reed from Dead World Soda and Caliber Comics. Let's see, going through the little list here. Jason Moore, Randy Zimmerman, Jared Blanton, our good friend, is going to be there, of course. Sourceport Press is going to be there. Love those guys. Mess Bucket Comics.
other podcasters are going to be there. Excuse me, I actually met these guys at the last Michigan show I did. The Slackjawed Punks, they're going to be there. Hey, there we are right there. I love how John has this listed on the website. It's Todd and the Basement Fodder podcast. Film director David Hayes is going to be there. The Great Lake Ghostbusters Coalition is going to be there. Crazy Mark and his wacky wig is going to be there. Trench FX Designs, Blitzkrieg Studios, Tom Savage is going to be there. All kinds of stuff happening. They're going to be doing cosplay, costume contests. There's going to be all kinds of different vendors there as well. It's going to be happy, super fun time, yeah. Eddie Venom, who has wrestled for TNA and he's done like preliminary work on SmackDown, is also going to be there. So it's going to be a huge, big, fun show. It's Saturday, April the 2nd in Taylor, Michigan. I believe that the address is on here somewhere. It is not. Awesome. I will find the address. It'll be in the video when we do the video promo. But if you guys are in the area, please come on out and see us. It's going to be it's down here. Here we go.
There you go.
Yes, it's going to be at the Taylortown Trade Center, which I have been to quite a few times now. And it is a fun place. It's kind of like an indoor flea market with a big, two big extra rooms that they can do like cons and stuff in. I will get the address for everybody when we do the video, but it's going to be a fun show, and we're going to have a great time, and I'm likely going to try to be back at the end of July for the Taylortown show as well, but I'm not sure if I can do that one yet because it might coincide with the Ohio Toy Comic Show. So, and we've already kind of booked that one, so if it does, then we won't be able to do it, but if not, then maybe. We'll see what we can do. But we're going to have a great time. We're going to be down there. We're going to have our game, our wonderful, magical $1 dice game. Dave is going to be visiting Michigan for the very first time. He's super, super excited. Well,
let's clarify that with the show. I've been to that state plenty of times. If you ever wonder why Dave doesn't go to that state, it's because he's been there plenty of times.
So yes, with the show, he's going to be doing the show with me for the first time. We've done a lot of local shows
expecting
together,
mini skirts and cookies.
Mini skirts, cookies, and big giant doobies.
Yes, not in that order.
Not in that order. But hopefully we'll get up to all kinds of...
then mini skirts holding cookies. That's how I want to do it.
We'll get to all kinds of hijinks and shenanigans.
Yes.
And hopefully make it back in time to hit the Sunday Gem City. Because I'd like to be able to do that if possible.
I'm sure we can.
But we're going to have a good time, and we're very much looking forward to it. And we'll bring Cthulhu Puppet with us so we can harass everyone with it. But that's going to wrap it up for this week. I'm going to do the shilling. Is it time for the shilling?
It's time for you to shill.
The shittin'.
Shill, monkey.
Shill, monkey. If you like what you heard this week on the Basement Fodder podcast, you can, of course, always find this show and our other show, The Todd Files, on our brand spanking new website, thebasementofdoom.wordpress.com, and our network home of digitalnerdage.com. You can find us on Twitter at Basement Fodder, on Facebook under Dave of Basement Fodder, Todd of Basement Fodder, Basement Fodder Podcast, The Todd Files, The Original Basement Babe, and of course under Todd Dave, which is not my name. It's Todd and Dave. He's Dave, I'm Todd. And you can find us on Instagram and Tumblr and all that wacky shenaniganry of the internet. I'm also being currently heard on the Geek Dig podcast, geekdigpod.com, with my co-host, the Vengeful Jedi Clint Thiel, who is at C2E2 this weekend, along with every other motherfucker that I know, except for me and Dave. So I hope they have a really great time. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up this week. As always, from the basement, I'm Todd.
I'm Dave.
And until next time, the basement door is closed.
Later, bitches.
You're listening to a Basement of Doom production. To find out more about Basement of Doom Productions, check out thebasementofdoom.wordpress.com and digitalnerdage.com.